Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Okay, very good afternoon to all my dear friends. Welcome to today's session. Welcome Dr.A.Kavita Madam Garu, Assistant Professor, Department.
Good afternoon, sir.
Rbvrr Women's College, Hyderabad. Madam is going to explain today's topic, that is Anthoceros, Bryophyta and life cycle, reproduction, sexual reproduction and life cycle. So, Madam, please welcome and start the session.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, students. Yesterday we have, good afternoon. Yesterday we have done with Anthoceros, the vegetative structure, and also a part of reproduction also. Okay. So let me start share my screen. Yeah, I think you can able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right. So let's have a recap of first the vegetative thallus, that is a gametophyte of Anthoceros, and then we'll go with the reproduction point of view. So we already discussed that Anthoceros, this is another genera belonging to the bryophytes. So this is also growing in the moist soil and in the shady places. And these are the few examples which are going to be found in the Indian region. And we also looked into the surrounding environment. Next, we talked about the thallus structure. So thallus, we have discussed that it is also a prostrate thallus that is growing according to the substratum. And it is also a lobed thallus with dichotomously branched, or it may be irregular also. And the lobes of these branches, they show a wavy margin. And all the lobes, they are arranged in the form of a ring, like, or in the form of a rose petals. So hence we call it as the rosette-like plant. And it is more or less dorsiventral thallus only, having the rhizoids at the ventral side. And the upper surface is more or less equivalent to the ventral side. And when we talk about the internal structure of the thallus is differentiated into the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis. And on the lower and the central tissue is completely of parenchymatous tissue, which are having uniform cells. And in certain regions of in this parenchymatous tissue, we can see the presence of the mucilaginous cavities. And these cells contains chloroplast. As a result, the complete thallus appears to be green in color and they perform photosynthesis. And as I told you, in this parenchymatous tissue consists of mucilaginous cavities. So these are the mucilaginous cavities. And in some of the mucilaginous cavities, you can see the presence of the nostoc colonies, which is the blue-green algae, cyanobacteria, showing a symbiotic association with the Anthoceros thallus. So this is about, and on the ventral side, you can see the development of smooth unicellular rhizoids by which it is attached to the ground surface. So this is about what we discussed yesterday regarding the internal and the gametophytic tissue. And also we discussed about the vegetative reproduction also, which is carried out by the death and decay of the thallus. That is, this is a thallus when it undergoes decay. And at the time, some regions of this thallus will develop into a new thallus again. Next, with the help of tubers also. So these are the extra outgrowths which are developed from the margins of the thallus, and they are the storing, they store the food material inside. So when these tubers, when they detach, that is when they get separated from the main thallus, they will germinate, they will utilize the food material which is present in them and develop into the new thallus again. Right. So that is by the tubers. And in some species, just I told you the Anthoceros, glandulosus, and Fornaceae and the Fusiformis. These are the species in which we can also see the development of gamecops and formation and the production of the gamete, just like in Marchantia. So these are also playing a role of asexual reproduction in the plant thallus. Next, with the help of the persistent growing epices, that is the apical regions of the thallus, when they are getting dried in the summer season, then these will have the capacity to develop into the, so these dry parts even have the capacity to develop into a new plant again. So this is about the vegetative and the asexual reproduction in case of Anthoceros. So next we are going for the sexual reproduction. In the sexual reproduction also we have discussed that the thallus is monoecious at the same time dioecious thallus, and it is a gametophyte because the sexual organs are developed on the plant body, that is on the thallus itself. So when the plant is a monoecious, you can see the development of both antheridia and the archegonia on the same thallus. But in case of dioecious, the sexual organs are developed and in the two separate thallus, that is male thallus will be different from female thallus. And another important point we want to discuss here is these sexual organs, they are embedded, deeply embedded in the thallus. And in the Marchantia, we have seen these are developed on the stalk or the receptacles called as antheridiophores and the archegoniophores, which are projecting out of the thallus. And we can see with our naked eye the development or the presence of those sexual organs. But in case of Anthoceros, we can't see these sexual organs as they are deeply embedded in the thallus plant body. Next, so the male sexual organ, when we talk about, it is called as the antheridia. So they are always developed on the dorsal surface of the thallus, and these are developed in the closed cavity, which is called as antheridial chamber or antheridial cavity. And another important point, we have told you that each antheridial cavity or the antheridial chamber consists of a pair, or that is 2 or 4 antheridia development, not more than that. Okay, so generally we can see presence of 2 antheridia only in each antheridial chamber. So when we talk about the structure of the antheridia are globose structures, and they are also having a stalk. With the help of the stalk, they are attached to the substratum and they are surrounded by a thick jacket layer, and each antheridium internally is made up of a mass of androgonial cells or the androcytes, mother cells. So they are responsible for the production of the male gametes, which are called as the antherozoids. One second. Next. So these androcyte mother cells or the androgonial cells, what we discussed just now, they are the androcyte, that is they produce a mass of tissue which is called as the antherozoid mother cells. Each antherozoid mother cell will undergo reduction division and produce the antherozoids. So these antherozoids, at the time of fertilization, the antheridial cavity and the antheridial wall, they both will rupture, and it is going to release these antherozoids into the surrounding water. So you can see this is the development of the pair, 2 antheridia in this antheridial chamber on the dorsal surface of the tissue and they are embedded. They are present inside the thallus. So this is an anthrozoid. So already I discussed that anthrozoids are showing a peculiar spindle-shaped structure here. So it is very, very important point in the Anthoceros. The anthrozoids are spindle-shaped and they possess two flagella, or we call it as biflagellated or biciliate at the anterior end of the anthrozoid. So with the help of that flagella, they will be swimming in the water and reach the archegonia. That is a female sexual organ. Now, when we talk about the archegonia, so archegonia are the female sexual organs which are also embedded in the tissue of the thallus. They are also present inside the tissue. Next, these archegonia, the shape of the archegonia is considered to be as a flask-shaped structure having this globose venter and a long elongated neck. And this archegonia is also surrounded by a jacket layer of cells. And at the tip of the neck, you can see the development of two cover cells or the lid cells. And in Anthoceros, then the neck region is very, very small and it is made up of only 2 to 3 neck canal cells. It is conspicuously very, very small neck region. And the venter, the globose venter consists of this female gamete, which is called as the egg cell, and also a small venter canal cell. Now, at the time of fertilization, this venter canal cell, the neck cells, and the cover cells, they all will degenerate and going to produce a mucilaginous substance. Okay, oka jarud padardham laga it will produce. So due to which the anthrozoids are attracted towards it. The anthrozoid, the male gametes which are swimming in the water. So with the help of this is called as a chemotactic attraction. What is this mucilage?
Madam, please unmute yourself.
Sir, I am, yeah, now is it clear?
Yes, madam.
So can you hear me, sir?
Okay.
So can you hear me?
Okay.
Hello?
Okay, madam, you are audible.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, madam, you are audible. Please proceed.
Yes, yes. Okay, sir. So this chemotactic attraction of the archegonia, that is by the disintegration of the ventral canal cell, the neck canal cells, and the cover cells. Due to this, a mucilaginous substance which is of chemical nature is going to attract the male gametes, what we call it as the antherozoids. So when these antherozoids move towards the neck, so along with the mucilage, they will directly move into this venter and it will fuse with the egg and leads to the formation of the diploid zygote, which is called as, this process is called as fertilization. So you can look into this. So fertilization, it is the plant becomes wet when the dew or rain during fertilization. So these anthrozoids, they are attracted towards the archegonium chemotactically, that is due to the mucilage secreted by the archegonia, these antherozoids gets attracted towards it. So these antherozoids, they enter the archegonium through these neck canals to the neck, and one of them will fuse with the egg to complete the fertilization. So that results in the zygote. Now the zygote increases in size and completely fills the venter. Okay, so and later it develops a wall around itself and helps in the formation of the next generation, which is called as the sporophyte of the next generation. So till the development of, that is till the fusion or the fertilization, the gametophytic generation will complete. Now, after the development of the zygote, and remember, zygote is the starting cell of the sporophytic generation. So that is a this is also an important question for your exam point of view. Starting cell of the sporophytic generation is zygote. Starting cell of the gametophyte generation is the sexual, what we call it as the sexual organs or the gametes. That is called as the development of sexual organs are the starting cell, or the new, that is a spore. When the spores are released, spore is the starting cell of the gametophyte. Spore itself will develop into a gametophyte. So remember these two important points. Zygote is the starting cell of the sporophytic generation, and a spore is the starting cell for the gametophytic generation. Okay. Now, so sporophyte. So the sporophyte of the Anthoceros is quite different when compared to Marchantia. In Marchantia, the sporophyte is embedded in the female thallus. So sporophyte female thallus lopale unna, that is in the archegonia. But in case of the Anthoceros, the sporophyte is projecting out of the thallus. It is growing into a long filamentous structure. Okay. And also we can say that this sporophyte, it is partially dependent on the gametophyte. Okay, it is not completely dependent, just like in Marchantia. Marchantia sporophyte is completely dependent. But whereas in Anthoceros, it is partially dependent. So, enduko partially dependent anedi we'll tell you just now. So, even the sporophyte of Anthoceros is divided into 3 regions. That is the foot, small seta, and the large capsule region. So, foot region is completely foot as well as the seta. Both are totally what we call it as embedded in the thallus. And a tissue plant, gametophytic tissue lo manaki foot and seta both are completely embedded. Ante lopalki completely attach ayipotundi. The only structure what we can see in the sporophyte region is the capsule region, which is a long structure. So, andukani we told you that it is a economic structure. That's why it is called as the hornwarts. So, ikkada meeku kanpadedi enti, ikkada meeku emana foot to seta kanpadutunda? No, it is completely attached to the thallus gametophyte. Mana kanpinchedi enti ikkada only is the capsule. Ikkada poduvuga meeku edaithe kanpadutundo, that is the capsule region of the sporophyte. And this capsule, it is a long filamentous, just resembling like the horn of the animals. So hence Anthoceros is called as hornwarts. Am I clear? So this is a capsule region. Now we'll go in detail description of the sporophyte. When we talk about the foot, a mature sporophyte or the sporogonium, it has a well-developed cup-like foot. So this foot is attached to the gametophyte. And seta, when I talk about, there is no such differentiation of foot and the seta in the case of Anthoceros. Rendu attukupoyinattugane untundi. Next, I'm talking about the capsule, which is the important part of the sporophyte. Now, when we talk about the capsule region, capsule is the upper part of the sporophyte. That is, we can see that coming out, projecting out of the thallus. Now, it is very long, narrow, and cylindrical in shape. Okay, chala long podugga undi. So, it is a long, narrow, and cylindrical. Now, the cells in the basal part of the capsule, they are meristematic. అంటే ఏంటి, the basal అంటే ఈ capsule కి చివర్లో ఉండేటువంటి అంటే అంచులో ఉండేటువంటి cells, they are meristematic in origin. అంటే they will be in keep on dividing and dividing stage. So that's why the height of the capsule becomes so long. Okay, otherwise if there is no meristematic activity, the capsule will be very, very small enough. But as it is having the meristematic cells, as the cells are dividing and dividing, there, due to which the capsule is going to be increased in size and becoming very long and narrow. So due to this, the capsule continues to grow. Now, next, a columella is present in the center of the capsule. That is called as the central part. That is the central region of the capsule consists of columella, which is a conducting strand. Okay, here this columella will play a role of a seta. In Markantia, the seta was acting like a conducting tissue. But whereas in Anthoceros thallus, that is in the capsule, the central cells are the columella, which plays a role of the conducting tissue. Next, when you talk about this, the wall of the sporophyte is several cells in thickness. The outermost is the epidermal layer, and it is cutinized, that is, it is surrounded by cuticle. Next, these epidermis, it also have some small stomata with guard cells. Next, the cells of the capsule, they also contain chloroplasts. So that's why I told you, it is partially dependent on the gametophyte, because the cells of this capsule show the presence of chloroplast, due to which it can perform the photosynthesis and can prepare the food material. Okay, so therefore, the sporophyte is not totally dependent on the gametophyte. It only depends on the gametophyte for absorbing the water, for conducting the water and the minerals. But whereas the food is prepared by the capsule itself. So it is a partial dependent. Whereas in Markantia, it is completely dependent. Next, the wall of the sporogonium, it ruptures at the apex into two valves, that is two halves, and it exposes the columella and the spores. That is on the either side of the, so I'll show you here. So on either side of the columella, so this is a complete structure of the sporophyte. So this is the foot region, which is developed in the gametophytic tissue. There is no such differentiation of seta and the foot. Seta is very, 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 very smaller enough attached to the foot region. And this is the long, narrow, and cylindrical capsule region. So when we talk about this capsule, having the outermost layer, which is epidermal layer, and it also consists of the cuticle surrounding it. Below that are the parenchymatous tissue, which is consisting of the chloroplast performing the photosynthesis. And the basal cells of the capsule region are meristematic in origin. So as a result, the capsule will keep on growing and growing. And the central region, so this is the central region, which is called as the columella, playing the role of the conducting tissue. Next, on either side of this columella, you can see the cells which are considered to be as the sporocyte mother cells, or we can also call them as spore mother cells. At the time of maturity, these spore mother cells, they undergo reduction division and results in the formation of spores and at the same time elaters. Okay, now after maturity, this capsule, it will split longitudinally. Itla poduga chilled columella region nunchi it will split anamata. So as a result, it forms two halves. Itla madhyalaki చీల్కి పోతుంది అన్నమాట. అయిపోయి all the spores which are developed after the maturity, they are released into the surrounding environment. Okay, so this is a cross section of the sporophyte capsule. Okay, so this is the entire epidermal region. So this is a parenchymatous tissue. These are the spores, which are spore tetrads, which are developed around this central columella. And these spores are exposed by the longitudinal splitting of the capsule wall. Okay, so this is regarding the, so you can see here, the oospore is nothing but, it is called as the spore mother cell. It divides by two vertical and transverse division and forming these cells. Some of these cells will develop into the foot and another cells will develop into the complete sporophyte. Okay, so this is regarding the next. So in this, the cells of the endothecium, it forms the columella. So the cells of the columella are arranged in the central part of that. On opposite sides of this, we can see the development of the sporogenous tissue, or we're also calling it as archisporium. Now the jacket initials, it divides to form wall of the sporophyte. The outermost layer becomes a jacket or the epidermal, and it is cutinized and consists of the parenchymatous tissue with the chloroplast. And the thickness of the sporogenous layer or the archisporium is differ from one layer to the 4 layered. And the cells of the sporogenous tissue, they are arranged alternating with the larger and the smaller cells. The larger cells are considered to be as the spore mother cells, which will divide meiotically and form a tetrad of spores, which are called as spore tetrads. And the smaller cells, they become elongated and helps in the formation of the elaters. Okay, so now all the cells of the sporogram, they do not mature at the same time. So the base of the capsule, they remain meristematic. They go on adding new cells towards the upper side, and the complete capsule is becoming long and elongated. And the columella, sporogenous layer, and the wall of the mature capsule, in this way, it remains active towards completed life cycle. So the growth of the base of the capsule continues even after the dehiscence of the top. That means as the meristematic cells are there, they will be in keep on active nature. Okay, so when the spores are liberated from this matured capsule, each spore is going to have an outer thicker wall, which is called as exosporium, and an inner thinner wall, which is called as endosporium. Now the spores undergo a rest for a period of time. Then the outer wall ruptures during the germination, and from the inner wall, it goes to form a small filamentous structure, which is called as protonema. So this protonema will keep on dividing and develops the entire, what we call it as the lobed thallus again, which is a gametophyte. So this is a spore. The inner wall of the spore is forming the germ tube, or which is called as the protonema. And the cells of this protonema will keep on dividing and completely forming the mass of tissue. Okay. So this is regarding the germination of the spores. So as here we can see a differentiation in the gametophyte and the sporophyte. Hence we can see the heteromorphic alternation of generation. Hetero and different in the structure, in the morphology. So all the bryophytes, they exhibit heteromorphic alternation of the generation. Okay. So here, this is a life cycle of the Anthoceros. This is Anthoceros thallus, which is called as the gametophyte. So the gametophyte is developing the male sexual organ. This is antheridia, and the female sexual organ, which is called as archegonia. This is a male gamete, anthrozoids, and in the archegonia, we can see the female gamete, which is the egg cell. Now they both will fuse, that is the fertilization occur, and results in the formation of the diploid zygote. So till the fertilization, There ends the gametophytic stage. Now we are moving to the sporophyte. The zygote will undergo divisions and results in the formation of this sporophyte, which is the foot, and this is a long conspicuous capsule. So from this sporophyte, that is from the capsule, spore mother cells will divide and form the spore tetrads. So till the formation of these spores, the sporophyte will end. Now next to spore is the starting cell here, which will undergo germination and develops into the young thallus again. So here a clear differentiation of gametophyte and the sporophyte is seen. So hence heteromorphic alteration of generation, and the life cycle is considered to be as a haplodiplontic life cycle. That is, the gametes, the antheridia, they all are haploid, and this haploid phase is alternating with the diploid sporophytic phase. So hence the life cycle is called as haplodiplontic life cycle. So this is about the life cycle of the Anthoceros thallus. So this is the end of, just I'm stop sharing. So this is the end of the Anthoceros life cycle, the type study. Yes, ma, here any doubts in this particular topic?
Ma, is there any doubts? Madam is asking, my dear friends. So Anthoceros thallus structure, so sexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So regarding of this class, if you have any doubt, please ask. Okay. Any doubt? My dear friends.
No doubt, sir. Sir, mag malli hostel in the online class iptara botany.
Yes, sure. మీకు సంబంధించి ఏ డౌట్ ఉన్నా క్లాస్ లో కూడా క్లారిఫై చేద్దాం. మీరు రెగ్యులర్ గా ఇప్పుడు మన క్లాస్ కూడా స్టార్ట్ అయింది. బట్ టుడే ఓన్లీ 3 members ఆర్ కేమ్. రిమైనింగ్ స్టూడెంట్స్ దే ఆర్ లిజన్ త్రూ ఆన్లైన్ క్లాస్. సో ఆన్లైన్ క్లాస్ ఎలాగో కంటిన్యూషన్ ఉంటుంది. డోంట్ వరీ, మీరు ఆన్లైన్ లో కూడా వినొచ్చు. ఓకేనా? యాజ్ యూ విష్.
ఫోన్ తెచ్చుకోవచ్చా?
తెచ్చుకోవచ్చు. ఫోన్ తెచ్చుకోకపోతే క్లాస్ ఇక్కడ నుంచి వినొచ్చామా? వినరాదు కదా. సో ఫోన్ కూడా తెచ్చుకోండి. మీకు సంబంధించి ఏ డౌట్ ఉన్నా కానీ మనం క్లారిఫై చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకేనా?
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ఓకే మేడం.
ఓకే సార్,
థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. టుమారో సేమ్.
ఓకే సార్
మేడం, టుమారో సేమ్ టైం.
yes sir.
Polytrichum. Okay madam, thank you.
Yes sir, yes sir. Okay, thank you ma, thank you girls.